In many cultures around the world, people tell ghost stories and mysteries that happen late at night. Some of these stories come from real events, while others are simply made up to frighten people or to teach lessons. In China, one of the most famous urban legends is about bus number 375, sometimes called the Beijing Ghost Bus or the Midnight Bus. According to the legend, something very strange happened one night in 1995 in Beijing, when the last bus of the day disappeared with its passengers. The story has been told and retold so many times that it has become a part of modern Chinese folklore. Some people believe it really happened, while others are sure it is nothing more than a ghost story. Either way, it remains one of the most fascinating mysteries of the city. The story is usually said to have happened on November 14, 1995. At that time, bus number 375 was running its usual late route from the Old Summer Palace, also called Yuanming Yuan, to Fragrant Hills, known as Xiangshan. The last bus of the night left the Old Summer Palace close to midnight. At that late hour, Beijing was quiet, and very few people were still outside. The bus was never very full during this time of night. People who missed it would have to wait until the morning for another bus, which is why the passengers who did manage to get on were always eager not to miss it. On this particular night, the bus began its journey with only a handful of people: the driver, a female conductor who helped with tickets, and a few ordinary passengers such as a young man and an elderly woman. They sat quietly, waiting to reach their destinations. The bus rolled through the dim streets for a while, everything seeming calm. But soon the driver noticed something unusual on the roadside. There were three figures standing in the dark, waving for the bus to stop. Even though it was late, the driver decided to stop and let them board. From this moment, the story takes a strange and frightening turn. The new passengers were three men. Two of them were holding up a third man between them, as if he were too weak or injured to walk by himself. In many versions of the story, all three men were dressed in long robes that looked like something from an earlier time in China, perhaps from the Qing dynasty. Their faces were pale, and their expressions seemed strange and empty. The sight of them unsettled the other passengers, though no one said anything at first. The driver and the conductor also noticed that the new passengers looked unusual, but they kept the bus moving. As the ride continued, the air inside the bus grew tense. The silence became heavy, and no one dared to speak. The three new passengers sat quietly, but their presence made everyone uneasy. Then something unexpected happened. The elderly woman suddenly turned to the young man sitting near her and accused him of trying to steal her purse. She raised her voice and made a scene, insisting that the young man was a thief. The young man was shocked and denied it, but the woman refused to listen. She demanded that the bus stop so she could take him to the police station. The driver hesitated, but the old woman was insistent, and eventually he pulled the bus over. The young man and the old woman got off the bus together, still appearing to argue. The doors closed, and the bus drove off into the night with the remaining passengers inside. When the bus disappeared from sight, the young man turned angrily to the old woman and asked why she had made such a false accusation. He was upset at being humiliated in front of strangers. The woman then lowered her voice and explained the truth. She told him that when the three strange men had entered the bus, she had noticed something terrifying. They did not have legs. Their long robes floated above the floor, and their feet never touched the ground. She realized at once that they were not human, but ghosts. Fearing for her own life and for the young man's life as well, she invented the story of the stolen purse to create a reason to get both of them off the bus. She told him she had saved him because everyone who stayed on the bus was in terrible danger. The young man was shocked and frightened, but he also understood that without her clever trick, he would still be sitting among the ghosts. What happened next is where the legend becomes even darker. That night, bus number 375 never returned to the depot. When the morning came, the bus was missing, along with the driver, the female conductor, and the remaining passengers. A search began, and soon rumors were spreading through Beijing. People whispered that the bus had been taken over by ghosts and had vanished. After some time, investigators claimed that they had found the missing bus. It was discovered near the Miyun Reservoir, about 100 kilometers away from its normal route. This was shocking because the bus was not supposed to have enough fuel to travel such a long distance. The mystery deepened when they looked inside. In the bus were the dead bodies of the driver, the conductor, and one other man. Some said it was a passenger, while others insisted it was one of the ghostly men. Even stranger, the bodies were badly decomposed, as if they had been dead for much longer than a few days. One of the most frightening details that is often told is that when investigators checked the fuel tank of the bus, they found it was not filled with petrol, but with blood. Whether this was an exaggeration, a rumor, or part of the truth, no one could say for certain. Some people believe this detail was simply added later to make the story scarier. But in any case, the discovery of the bus at the reservoir and the condition of the bodies made the story spread even faster. Over time, many different versions of the story have been told. In some versions, the bus was never found at all, making it a complete mystery. In others, the exact number of passengers changes. Some say there were more passengers at the start of the trip, while others say only a few. The details about the fuel tank, the ghost's clothing, and the rapid decomposition of the bodies are not the same in every telling. These contradictions suggest that the story grew and changed as people retold it, each time becoming stranger and more frightening. The unanswered questions make the legend more powerful. How could the bus travel so far without being noticed? How did it reach the reservoir if the entrances were guarded? Why did the bodies decay so quickly? And why did no official records ever clearly confirm or deny what happened? Because of all these mysteries, the story of Bus 375 quickly became one of the most famous urban legends in Beijing. It was retold in schools, in workplaces, in dormitories, and later on, the internet. For many people, it was a warning about the dangers of traveling alone late at night. For others, it was simply an entertaining story meant to frighten. The legend has even spread outside of China, where it is compared to other ghost stories like the Western tale of the vanishing hitchhiker. Over time, the story has become more than just a scary tale. It is now part of the cultural folklore of Beijing and continues to be told decades later. Skeptics, of course, argue that the whole story is made up. They point out that no official reports from 1995 confirm the disappearance of a bus in this way. The Beijing Bus Company never recorded a bus vanishing into the reservoir, and the police never issued a public statement about it. Without any solid proof, skeptics believe the story is only a rumor that spread out of control. Some think it may have started with a real accident, perhaps a bus that crashed, and then, over time, people added ghostly details to explain it. Others think it was invented from the start, with each retelling adding more horror, floating figures, blood in the fuel tank, and decomposed bodies. Even though there is no evidence, many people still believe in the story of Bus 375. Part of the reason is that it speaks to very real human fears. Midnight is a time when people feel vulnerable, especially when traveling alone. The idea of being trapped on a bus with strangers who are not what they seem is deeply unsettling. The story also plays on our uncertainty about strangers. We often do not know the true nature of the people around us, and the thought that someone might not even be human makes the story more terrifying. At the same time, the presence of the old woman gives the story hope. She shows wisdom and bravery, and she uses her quick thinking to save herself and another passenger. Without her, no one would have survived. Finally, the unanswered details and contradictions invite people to believe that there is more to the world than we can see, that ghosts may exist, and that not everything can be explained by reason. Today, the story of Bus 375 is still told in Beijing and beyond. It appears in online forums, videos, and collections of scary tales. Tour guides sometimes mention it when speaking about fragrant hills or the old summer palace, using it to entertain visitors with a piece of local folklore. Even though it has never been proven true, it has become part of the identity of Beijing's urban legends. Like many ghost stories, it does not matter whether it really happened or not. What matters is the way it captures people's imagination and reflects their fears. In the end, the midnight mystery of Bus 375 remains a powerful tale. It describes a late-night bus ride that turned into a nightmare after 3 ghostly passengers boarded. Thanks to the cleverness of one old woman, a young man survived, but the bus itself disappeared, only to be found later under strange and impossible circumstances. The story mixes fear, mystery, and the supernatural in a way that continues to capture attention. Even if it is only folklore, it shows the power of storytelling to shape how people think about the unknown. The legend reminds us that the line between reality and imagination can sometimes blur, and that the mysteries we tell each other often say as much about our fears as they do about the world around us.